Now you can see Tracksmith has this nice, beautiful sock liner with gold Tracksmith writing, this nice navy coloring, and then on the back here it's got all sorts of poems or marketing copy. What's up guys, welcome to the channel. I'm Joanna, founder and CEO of Supwell, and today we have a little bit of class warfare going on here. I'm gonna take a look at the Adizero SL, which I picked up for $60 a few weeks ago, versus the Tracksmith Eliot Runner, which I got when it first dropped last year for 200 bucks. I'm gonna call this one the battle of the Prince and the Pauper. We got the affordable, on sale, $60 daily trainer versus the heavy hitter, $200 super foam daily trainer. Let's get into it. First up, we got the Adizero SL. This is a moderate stack daily trainer with a nice padded upper and a moderate amount of this light strike EVA cushioning underfoot. It's got 35mm stack in the heel and a 26mm stack up in the forefoot for a 9mm drop. This was released in December 2022 as Adidas's mainstream daily trainer to take on those tried and true favorites like the Saucony Ride and the Nike Pegasus. And we're also gonna be taking a look at the Tracksmith Eliot Runner, which I have here. This one's got a slightly lower stack with 33.5 in the heel, 24.5 up in the forefoot for a 9mm drop. This one was also released in December 22 of last year to take on some of those similar daily trainer heavy hitters to be that more premium option in the market. And it was a bit of a return to form for runners who like that simple, no frills, straightforward ground feel, but slightly responsive daily trainer. Now, these on paper are actually very similar shoes until you see the price point. Now, that difference in price comes down to a few different things. First main difference between these two is that the Adizero SL is built with a full EVA midsole, other than this little tiny puck of Light Strike Pro, which is gonna be seen through this slit here. Now, the Light Strike Pro up here is a supercritical TPE compound that's encased in this chassis of Light Strike, which is a firmer EVA. Now, if we're looking at the Tracksmith Eliot Runner, this whole thing is built on Pebax, which is the real deal superfoam that's in other shoes like the Nike Vaporfly. It was popularized by Nike. It was first brought to market in that original Next Percent shoe, that 4% shoe back in 2017 that exploded onto the scene and changed the game for runners. Now we see it here in a daily training application. And the way that it's different from a lot of other super foam shoes is that it's slightly firmer to the touch. So if we do this little push-in test here, you're gonna see we're not getting a lot of response from it. Now, I got a durometer from Amazon coming on the way, so I'll throw some numbers in the comments after I test this bad boy. But you're gonna see we're not getting a lot of feedback here. And it's almost to the touch just as firm as this Light Strike EVA from Adidas. The other difference with this one here is that we have a removable sock liner. Now you can see Tracksmith has this nice, beautiful sock liner with gold Tracksmith writing, this nice navy coloring, and then on the back here it's got all sorts of poems or marketing copy, however you want to say it, in their little hair, the Eliot. In terms of the looks, these two approach it from pretty different angles. The Tracksmith Eliot Runner is going for that preppy, old school, collegiate look, while the Adidas is going for more of a modern racer, that mean, aggressive, I call it the Lamborghini look. You got some of these aggressive foam cutouts up front, and it almost looks like an intake vent that you'd see on a Lambo, versus the Tracksmith Eliot Runner is more of just nice fabric. Everything is sewn, stitched, embroidered, almost like an Italian linen shirt or one of those Irish linen shirts from J. Crew. Almost like the shirt I've got on today, honestly. This goes pretty nicely. And that's the thing with the Tracksmith Eliot Runner, the looks. I have another pair that I'll pull out here in a second that I wear almost every day around town. I'm going to the coffee shop when I'm picking up my daughter from school, when we're going on trips, because this is a very good looking shoe. And it lets everyone know I'm a runner. You know, you gotta let them know that you're a runner. All right, next up we got the upper here. So you'll see that the uppers are pretty similar in how they're constructed and how they fit. I would say the Tracksmith Eliot Runner's upper is a bit lighter weight. The material is slightly different than we have on the Adidas SL, but in terms of daily trainers, as uppers go, there's not a lot of whole innovation in the game, and that's where these things are really the most similar, is that they're both approaching it from the same angle, which is they want to give you a nice classic daily trainer feel, slightly firm, slightly responsive. You can pick it up, you can go slower, but it's going to be comfortable enough for anything from your classic 5K run up to 8 miles. And I think that's where both of these shine, is in that 3 to 8 mile range. In the Adizero SL, we do see a bit more flare here in the upper with the laces. They also have this waterproof TPU overlay on the forefoot, versus the Tracksmith Eliot Runner. Where we're gonna see more embellishment is through the stitching up here. There's some nice detail on the upper as well. And then we also have this navy overlay, which they claim will help hold your foot in place and be more stable. All right, around back here, you'll see that the Adizero SL is a bit more padded in the heel collar than the Tracksmith Eliot Runner, but it's more flexible as well. So the Eliot has some sort of reinforced material at the bottom of this heel here, almost like there's a plastic heel clip inside, where the Adizero SL also has something, but it's not as rigid. So the Tracksmith almost feels like there's a heel cup situation going on in here, versus the SL is a bit flimsier. All right, now let's talk about the ride of these two. I took the Tracksmith Eliot Runner out for a 6-mile aerobic pace, almost recovery run this morning. I was a bit beat up, and that's because yesterday I took out the Adidas Adizero SL for 7-mile run with the kids in the double stroller. So pushing like 50 pounds in the double stroller, and there was a huge hill to go up to the park. So I got a really good workout in these yesterday. And the ride of the Adizero SL is definitely firmer than the ride of the Tracksmith Eliot Runner. And that comes down to two things. The first is that EVA in general is gonna be much firmer than the PIBA that we have in the Tracksmith Eliot Runner, especially if it's not supercritical. So this is not supercritical EVA, this is just standard EVA. There's nothing fancy going on, there's no gas that's been injected into it. It's just good, plain old, durable EVA. This thing is probably gonna last at least the midsole for hundreds and hundreds of miles. I have it at probably 50 miles right now, maybe not even, so I'm guessing it's gonna break in and soften it up a bit more, which I've already seen, but will run forever. This one is PIBA, and in my other pair, I have that between 100 and 200 miles. It has softened up a bit more, but it's definitely softer than the SL, and that also comes from that sock liner that you saw that I took out. That adds a lot of plushness to the step-in feel and to the feel at slower paces. So that's a super critical PIBA, which means there's been gas injected into it, whereas the regular midsole on this off-white material foam you're seeing in here, this is just standard PIBA. So the standard PIBA is a bit firmer, a bit more responsive. This is what's gonna help you pick up the pace when you're out there and do those strides or whatever kind of up-tempo work you're trying to do in the Tracksmith Eliot Runner, whereas the insole is what's gonna give you that soft, plush feeling. Neither of these have very big rockers up front, but the difference in how they ride too, other than that firmness, is that the Tracksmith Eliot Runner feels a lot more flexible. Now, let's just take a look at this. You can see I can pretty easily bend this almost all the way over on itself. Whereas if I try to do that with the Adizero SL, I'm putting about the same amount of force in this one right now, and we're not even getting, I'm kind of putting all my force here, we're not even gonna get it halfway back there. So it's a lot firmer on the forefoot and through the general platform, just much more rigidity than the Tracksmith Eliot Runner is. And you can feel that out there on the run. Let's take a look at the outsole of the Tracksmith Eliot Runner and the Adizero SL. So you'll see the Eliot Runner here is covered with this beautiful gum sole material and a really nice pattern up here. It's almost like a herringbone situation we got going on, and really generous covering of this rubber. I've had no issues with it. I've seen some other reviewers, I think Road Trail Run said they had some issues with the grip. I haven't really felt that. I never really have issues with grip. I don't know where people are running, if you're running on buttery roads or something, but not an issue that I commonly have. This one is fine. The Adizero SL, this is not continental rubber like we see in the Takumi Sen. I call it non-continental rubber. It's just normal, everyday rubber. It's probably a little less grippy than the Tracksmith Eliot Runner, but again, I don't really have any issues with the traction. I more so have issues with the material itself. So it feels really slappy out there on the roads and inflexible. I think it's adding to some of the rigidity that I was talking about with this platform, because when you land and toe off, you're not getting that nice snap through the foam that you do with a shoe that has a lighter covering of rubber, or a rubber that's applied in a different way like here. So you see with this just being pancaked on here, it adds even more stiffness to the outsole and to the midsole, whereas this, with having all these cutouts, also increases the flexibility. In general, both of these are pretty solid coverings and should hold up to at least 250 miles, which is the new standard for running shoes. Absolutely terrible. I gotta get one of these brands to start pouring more development dollars into their rubber, because we should be able to take shoes to 500, 600 miles without seeing the rubber wear through. But I get it, they're not incentivized to have durability, they're incentivized to keep us addicts buying more shoes. Alright guys, now to the $140 question. Like I said, I picked up the Adizero SL for $60 a few weeks ago, and I bought the Tracksmith Eliot Runner for $200 at the beginning of this year. So, is that justified? Is the difference in price between these justified? My answer is no. If you're gonna use these just for running, for everyday running, for daily training, they can accomplish the same exact job. The Tracksmith Eliot Runner is gonna be a touch softer underfoot out there and more flexible, but if you're pulling for a daily trainer to do those 5K to 8 mile runs, those 3 to 8 mile runs, either of these can do those just fine. You don't need something with 2 different types of super foam in it to go run for 40 minutes. You'll do just fine with this, and this will probably help you build a bit more leg strength because of the firmness of the platform and because it's not cushioning you as much. There's not a huge difference between these. I think the Adizero SL being on sale for $60 is one of the most insane deals we have out there on the market. So go pick up one of these, and go pick up a Tracksmith Eliot Runner if you're gonna wear it other than for running. That's what it's great for. I have a big rotation of shoes, and I also like wearing sneakers around town, and I like having a certain style, and this fits my aesthetic perfectly. It almost reminds me of that old Nike Kill Shot. It goes really well with my wardrobe. I will use the Tracksmith Eliot Runner for everything else outside of running in addition to running, so it's worth it for me. But for those runners just contemplating, I need a daily trainer to do 5K to 15K, 3 miles to 8 to 10 miles, no. Adidas Adizero SL all the way. Alright guys, there we have it. Let me know in the comments if you've tried either of these. If you have other Prince versus Pauper type matchups you want me to do, let me know. I'm taking requests in here in the comments. I gotta pick up a pair of Vaporflies 3s because I gotta do the Endorphin Pro 3 versus the Vaporfly 3 pretty soon. So if you have other daily trainer matchups you wanna see, let me know. Thank you for following and liking. I'll make sure to keep you up to date on all the latest and greatest in the world of performance running shoes.